Well, yeah, man, it's a whole bunch of interesting ass information. Y'all got to forgive me for this title or whatever. Long story, but yeah, it's so much to touch on as far as the interpretation of Jesus. There's various perspectives out there. You got a guy named Tertullian, another guy named Marcion, another guy named Sibelius, another guy named Meletius. Then you got Arius, of course, and then you got the Ebionites. And this is my first time ever finding out about them ever since I was doing my research about this blog or whatnot. But then you got a lot of different documents because like I never just go off Wikipedia articles. It's not my style. So the fragments of Papias, and he's supposed to have like the earliest writings, but within the midst of my research, I came across this letter from Bishop Clement. It's called Letter to the Corinthians, and I think he wrote that like between 90 and 96 AD or whatever, so that's actually older than what Papias came out with as far as his fragments. And then you got Irenaeus also. Irenaeus, by the way, he's more like the Orthodox interpretation, but because he lived from 69 to 155 AD, you know, I feel like it's important to also quote him. He's considered like one of the forefathers of this history also. And he got a book. It's 5 books, but it's all composed in one. It's called Against Heresies. And in that document, you know, he speaks on, like, he's basically taking like a whole bunch of different arguments from various people. And it's not just, in my opinion, it's not just like heresy in terms of just Christian arguments, because what I noticed, like, it's a lot of people that he kind of like wrote against within this book, Against Heresies. And to me, they're more so like enemists, but they kind of a little bit more exotic because they not just pure enemists. They seem to be enemists who kind of like fused a lot of Christian concepts into their history or their perspective and tried to justify still where they coming from. Like, there's a lot of terminology that he used in a book to refute, like this word called pleroma. I think it's P-L-E-R-O-M-A, and it just basically means like space, basically emptiness or whatever. So that was another concept that he was refuting. He also went into a whole bunch of history. Like where I'm at right now, I'm basically at the end of book 3. So that's a whole document. Like it's really extensive. But like I say, I'm trying to make this thorough, and I do not want to rush anything based on my little personal situation. That's why it's been taking me a little time, because I got a lot of practical shit going on that I got to deal with. But aside from that, like, that's one of those main documents that I'm gonna also speak on and thoroughly go through within the midst of this vlog also. So this vlog is gonna be longer than 2 hours, basically, is what I'm getting at. It's not gonna be cheap at all. And of course, like I say, Papias, and then one of Arius's old writings, it's called Thalias. And even though like all his shit was basically burnt and shit right before he died or whatnot, a little bit before he died, because he died in 336. You know, his opponents, like Athanasius, for example, in their writings, you know, they quoted a lot of his literature to try to refute it or whatever, so his shit survived through their words. So Thalias is like one of his main writings that, you know, that he put out, basically, that is available in a lot of Orthodox earlier writings. But that shit is interesting. Like, I basically read through all that thoroughly already. It's just like a lot of recent shit that I've been coming across that I'm still studying and breaking down right now, because this topic is super fucking interesting, and I keep coming across information that got me like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like Thalias, for example, my personal opinion, and this is not psychobabble, when I read it thoroughly, right, because I copy it down verbatim, and of course I read it as I'm copying it down, and I think about it. To me, it seemed like he's breaking down like a lot of metaphysics, like a lot of terms that they talk about today, like remote viewing and astral projection. He's breaking that. That language, in my opinion, a lot of it points to that. But when I do this vlog officially, I break down what I mean. Same thing with Irenaeus. I'm reading Irenaeus' words. Like I say, the book is called Against Heresies. So I'm like, this dude right here, he basically talking about aliens and shit. Like a lot of shit that you hear about today that people call psychobabble, all that shit was touched on, and this guy was really sharp. You know what I'm saying? But not saying that I agree with him, but I'm just saying, like, just fairly objectively going through his words and his writings or whatever. So it's a whole bunch, you know what I'm saying? And then like the Islamic history that I know about, I'm gonna have to tie some of that into the mix, because like I say, me just doing this research, you keep on bringing certain shit that I know about and past histories that I read about. It's like the analysis is gonna be pretty much deep. And I was supposed to put